So my interest in the night sky is pretty readily traced back to my childhood when I was a wee lad in Scotland. And the two main things I remember, I should say I don't remember a whole lot about my childhood. I was a pretty shy, withdrawn little boy, so I think I blocked a lot of it out. It wasn't a bad childhood, but I don't remember much of it. Except for a couple of instances. One was, I was walking home at night, which sounds weird, but I was only maybe 9 or so, 10, something like that. It sounds weird now because you don't let little 10-year-old kids wander around at night. But this was, Scotland in a small town in, 1960s. So I remember vividly seeing 3 or 4 shooting stars, like right after the other. I sort of noticed one first out of the corner of my eye, and I was, oh, what's that? And then I kept looking in the general direction. I saw like 2 or 3 other ones right after it. And I still remember that. It was just amazing. To me, it was, magical, one of those little magical childhood moments. The other one was somewhat similar. We were coming back from Glasgow, which is the big city around where we were, to our hometown. And we were driving, we drove through what's an area that's called the Fenwick Moor. It was a very, as the name suggests, sort of open, lonely, dark place. So this was at night, and we had stopped in a lay-by. The lay-by is the little cutout at the side of the road they had back then, where you could stop if you had a flat tire or you just needed to rest for a few minutes, whatever. I don't remember why I assume somebody had to pee, probably me. I don't know. I don't remember that part. But I do remember it was really dark, obviously with no lights around. There was cars, but not a lot of cars. And I remember just glancing up and seeing the Milky Way. And that was the first time I'd ever seen it. And it was just so awesome. I could see it quite clearly, a big smudge right across the sky. And that stuck with me too. So all that to say, that sort of started my interest in, not astronomy. I'm not a backyard astronomer, but I just like looking at the sky. It gives me one of those feelings, that you can't really get. If you look at a sunset, it's special. That to me, the night sky is special to me in that way. Anyway, there's a few things going on this year that are pretty interesting. We already had the solar eclipse, and I also got my very first view ever of the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, thanks to a pretty gnarly solar wind event that we had here. But there are a couple of events coming up. There's the Perseid meteor shower, which occurs, annually, and it's in August, roughly August 11th, 12th. And during the peak times, you can generally expect to see 50 to 100 meteors per hour if you're in a dark location. And I'll give you a couple of tips in the observation later on here. There's also in August, mid-August, there is a Mars-Jupiter conjunction, where Mars and Jupiter will be really close in the night sky, and you'll be able to see that with the naked eye or just, with binoculars or telescope, whatever. There's also going to be what appears to be a new star for a short time. It's actually a nova explosion of a star called T Coronae Borealis, or TCRB. It's a binary star system located about 3,000 light years, which is a long way, in the constellation Corona Borealis, the Northern Crown. What's going to happen is, and this is an odd situation for a nova like that, because it's a somewhat recurring event. It undergoes these explosions periodically, roughly 80 years apart. So the observers are saying it's going to happen again. So we actually have warning for this coming up. What'll happen is the TCRB's brightness will increase from a magnitude of +10, which is too dim to see, to around a magnitude +2, similar to the North Star. So it should be perfectly visible. You'll be able to see it for several days with the naked eye or through binoculars. As far as space science is concerned, we have a Venus Life Finder mission. This mission is one of the last planned for 2024. MIT and the launch vehicle company Rocket Labs are partnering to send the first private mission to Venus. During the mission, the Venus Life Finder will drop a small probe, I'm just reading here, will drop a small probe into Venus's atmosphere, and the goal is to scan for organic molecules that could be a possible sign of life. Now, Venus itself, near the surface, is a bit of a hellhole. It's extremely hot. The pressures are extremely high, and the atmosphere is largely poisonous to us. But up in the upper atmosphere, there's a lot more interesting stuff going on, and they're thinking they might be able to find something up there. At least, if not actual life, then at least, conditions that would be possible to support life of some kind. And there's life on Earth that are in weird places, like underwater next to volcanic fissures and things. You find little beasties existing and thriving there. So life can do weird stuff when it wants to. As far as observations, the number one thing obviously is to get away from light as much as you can, which is hard to do. If you're in a city, it's difficult. Maybe if you have a building, you can go up on the roof, possibly. That might help a little bit. I usually try to get out, even in my little town that we're in here. It's hard to get away from light pollution. I mean, there's street lamps and all kinds of stuff. If you can get out a little bit into the country somewhat, it helps tremendously. You should look up, if you're interested, you can look up local astronomy clubs. Usually their membership is free or, not much. And they usually have some place where you can go where it's dark. They have organized, parties for meteor watching and stuff like that. As far as equipment you need, I wouldn't bother with a telescope unless you're really interested in it. The naked eye is fine if you have decent vision, or a pair of binoculars. If you do get binoculars, get ones with low magnification, but a large objective lens, meaning the numbers that you usually see with binoculars are like 7 by 30, 8 by 50, 10 by 50, that kind of thing. You want the lower first number, so a 7 by 50 would be good. The 50 indicates the size of the aperture where the light comes in. Binoculars are good at gathering light, so often you don't need a lot of magnification, you just need the ability to gather light. And if you observe a patch of sky where you don't really see anything with the naked eye and you use binoculars, it's pretty remarkable what pops up. So once you've been out there a little bit and kind of familiarize yourself with the sky, it's easier to see when things pop up, when planets appear, when things like the supernova happen. It's immediately obvious to you because you're somewhat familiar with what should be there. It's really cool. It's a cool hobby. And like I say, for me, it started, when I was a little kid, and it's kind of stuck with me. So keep your eyes in the sky.